We really got the confidence and success when we got like largest enterprise through PLG. They tried different competitors. If they came self-serve, signed up, they were excited and they talked to our support and just moved forward into an enterprise. The conversation was so faster and easier with us. So a validation success for us was really to understand and we can get a big enterprise, a 40, 50-year-old company in this market and B2B space come PLG after talking to all the competitors and still come and choose us. It was a great success validation saying that PLG is here and what we're building is right. I mean, if you say you don't make a mistake in your onboarding journey and you lose conversions, you're not doing it right. You have to make mistakes and learn.
Welcome to ThriveCast. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. We have Nalin Senthamil with us today. We're going to talk about Storylane's unique journey to build and adapt to PLG. To all the listeners who have not seen or heard Nalin, I'm going to go give a quick introduction. Nalin has been a serial entrepreneur for quite some time. He's worked at various startups before. He's also worked and built a couple of startups. The last one he did was Storylane, which was acquired by Procare. And recently he's been with his partner, with his co-founder, Akshay. He went ahead and registered and started building Storylane. I found Nalin through a friend, through another podcast guest who had recently joined us a couple of months back. And what was very unique about Nalin's story is what I'm trying to bring into the fore today. Nalin's been building Storylane since 2021. He's built a unique product which is completely PLG focused as opposed to the much of the industry around the interactive demos, which is not very PLG focused. So that's what the unique aspects about what Nalin had built. So I thought we should bring that to the fore. So Nalin, welcome to ThriveCast.
Thank you. Thanks so much, Guraj. Thanks for the great introduction and happy to be here. Absolutely.
Absolutely. A pleasure to host you. So Nalin, maybe if you could, to our listeners, could you give us a little bit of background of what was the inspiration behind Storylane and why did you and Akash start the journey of building Storylane?
No, for sure. And a little bit of context will be needed, so a little background. So as you mentioned, so this is my second company. I've been in startups for the last 12, 13 years now. And my first journey started literally with, I'm a very tech person. So started as an engineer, started on AR. And being an engineer, you're building things and then led into after that, like when I joined Akash and the second company was Kinderline, very product focused. And we were building a PLG company there as well in early education market. One of the challenges with that was like when we start talking to customers, selling product and showing product was always like we ran into, hey, how do we showcase the best version of this product? And people didn't understand it, even if they had the free sign up and to try it out. As we progressed through and that got acquired and went through the motions, and then that was the time with COVID. We were thinking of what's next. Being an entrepreneur, it's all about what's next. And you're thinking once it's done, what is the next big problem that we're seeing? And we look back and saw one of the big challenges we had always was when we started talking to people was how best to describe the product. What is the best way for them to show the product? And they always wanted to see, hey, do you have another versions of the product? What these use cases and different use cases. So we felt like people needs to be educated right from the time when they come to the websites, they start engaging with the product. Today, the B2B buying is changing a lot, right? So like people just don't look at the product. They want to talk to the communities and everything. But the core of everything is like listening, seeing the product, getting a feel of the product itself. And we felt, hey, we got to bring out these kind of products, make it like a sandbox for people to try it. And it's not like the full feature of the product, but exactly what they're interested in. So that's where we started brainstorming during the COVID. And then we resulted in starting the company, Storylane. And we just had an idea of what to do with that. And then we went through YC. We applied. And we said, before we got into YC, then let's build the product. And we started building the product and the foray into Storylane. Started from marketing. And now then moved more into sales. We started learning about a lot of different use cases, not just from marketing, but every touch point customers like prospects need to get a value of the product. And we started moving from there in the marketing into more into sales. So both marketing and sales segment through like product demos, interactive demos, and in different use cases within them as well.
So Nalin, I think, thanks for the introduction there. So to the listeners, maybe Nalin, if you could give maybe a high level pitch on what is Storylane. And I know you touched upon interactive demos, but how did you get to interactive demos? What was the inspiration to touch upon interactive? What was the problem that you were trying to solve in the very first place?
Yeah. So when we started out, as I mentioned in the previous from Kindle Lime, so the challenge we felt was like whenever you talk to buyers, there's a lot of friction. The friction is basically like to buy or sell software. There's a huge friction in terms of you have to go talk to a salesperson and go through the whole motion of like discoveries, getting to get a sneak peek of it, and the whole process takes a lot of time. We strongly believe this whole B2B buying will change. It'll become more and more like how a digital buying for B2C happens today, right? People will come and see the product, check out. So there is a huge gap in there. And if you look at back in history, like B2B buying has been like very old school and it's been changing. And if you look into the next 10 years, what's going to happen is PLG is one way of like people trying it out. But at the same time, people need to get a sense of it to see the product. So our pain point that we solve is like, how do we help buyers so that they're able to get a feel of what the product is? And at the same time, the sellers so that they can show the best version of the product to literally make it easy and frictionless, right? The whole buying. That's our vision of making that. And that's the core of what we started building, and Storylane is all about today.
Yeah, I have an industry report ahead of me here. I'm seeing that Trust Radius did a survey for B2B buyers, I think last year or end of last year. And they had built this particular report saying that the patterns of the B2B buyers have changed significantly. So PLG or a self-service is about 40-45% of the customers are really wanting to do self-serve. But for larger enterprise deals, interactive demos seem to be an upcoming trend, at least at the end of 2020. Do you see that trend becoming more and more prominent? Or do you see the trend shifting more towards the larger enterprise deals needing to have interactive demos? Or do you see the trend to be in the SMB space, especially maybe the users wanting to go try it out and then the sellers or the buyers want to have conversation? What do you see in the market out there?
Great question. So I think, yes, the Trust Radius report is absolutely true in terms of how people want. That's basically they want to touch and feel the product itself, right? So in terms of market segments, we are a little uniquely positioned to talk about it because of our PLG motion also. We see it in all of them, right? So definitely a lot in enterprises because the enterprise sales motion is longer, right? And in terms of the different touch points being involved itself and different use cases being covered. Definitely a big value in terms of the timeline to close your enterprise deals shrinking instead of actually trying to build out different environments, tests, and getting all the stakeholders aligned. When you talk about mid-market and small segment also, what we are really seeing in even the startups and small segments is people just don't want a very passive engagement through videos. They want to give them access to the product very early. So it becomes more and more like a marketing use case because your sales cycle is shorter. So then what happens, the GTM takes over a lot and they want to drive demand and engagement for them to show your product. Because in every product, like in B2B today, you will see multiple product lines exist. And the people who are actually being open, giving knowledge to the buyers is basically what they trusted. And the buyers need to build trust. And that only happens through seeing your product and touching. So that's where we're seeing a lot on even the startups in the mid-market definitely taking up as well. So I see it pretty distributed, but more on enterprise and mid, and startups are more and more adopting it and starting to showcase the product a lot nowadays, definitely.
Got it. So you're latching on to the upcoming trend of interactive demos are a good way. So are you seeing that interactive demos is what the user want to try it out first, and if they're interested, they will go ahead and sign up to the product, meaning that's the self-serve portion of it? Is that what you see out there in the market, wherein anyone who's looking for a product, they'll probably search on Google or Bing or whatever the search engine might be, they land up to, let's say, on a specific product or a tool that they're trying out. And instead of clicking on the try now button, which is essentially the self-serve, would you see that the self-serve is competing with the interactive demos, or is that, let's say you have a marketing website that the SaaS product has, and let's say there are two CTAs, one for try now versus check out the demo, right? Or something of that. So are they competing with each other for the clicks, or do you see the prominent one is the interactive demos and the secondary CTA is probably the try now? What do you see out there?
Yeah. So great. So there are two types, right? The companies have a different GTM, right? One is, hey, how do I do PLG completely where we have signups, and the other is completely sales, right? Book a demo comes in. So what we are seeing is there is a huge value in both the type of cases. And what we define and educate our customers through our playbooks today is like, how do you structure your demos differently to drive those kind of engagement? So let's take an example like a sales led. When you have a book a demo, there is a lot of friction to go through the process. Interactive demo works like a great charm. So because they get to sneak peek of what the product does itself there, and either through a landing page where they come in, they search on your Google, they come in, or they land on a website through different mediums, right? You search, and then you have getting an understanding. People start putting like a demo center, like a gallery of demos, so they understand what different parts of the features are doing before they want to engage in sales. Now you get really more qualified people there when you talk to a salesperson there, and at the same time, when they are engaging, we already give those kind of insights to sales before they come in, what they engage with. So the salesperson is also more knowledgeable in terms of conversation he's having. Now in sales-led motion, this is huge, and turning a sales-led into PLG is a huge uptaking because it's a mindset, right? You have built your product, complexities come in. How do you become PLG? It's a great segue for them to show the product early. Now that's one set where it's a huge uptake that we see. The second is what I was saying is be product led, right? I come into a website, I have a try for free sign up. Now there is a huge value here because people not just sign up for every website they want to go in, because there's a lot of noise emails you get in terms of every sign up. Like every category has many different versions. So people are less interested to sign up everything. They want to consume the content first before even signing. Now you want to provide that kind of context to prospects and buyers coming into your website. And that's where we see interactive demos being hugely valuable, even for PLG companies. Even before you sign up, you want to show value to them, show them like, hey, what your product can offer them, and give a clear indication of what this will do, drive them into sign up. Rather than a lead magnet, there it's more like driving them into a sign up. It's a different way of putting your product out there, but definitely both the use cases. And the second, what we have discovered, again, this category has been there for 3 years. What we are learning from our customers is, even for PLG, they love to see the engagement people have on the website. It's not like bounce rates, how much time they're spending on the website, even for PLG. Like the more the time they spend consuming your content, the more inclined they are to sign up, come back to you and everything. So PLG has different sets of metrics and all trying to sign them up into it.
Got it.
So we see a lot of adoption that way.
So it looks like I'm trying to reduce and summarize what you just said, primarily for the benefit of the listeners. You're saying that the interactive demos has a value both on the PLG first company as well as the SLG first company, as well as any companies which are doing both the hybrid motions. You're also saying that interactive demos is probably one of the highly valued contents which helps the SaaS builders gauge their visitors' interaction with the website and stay there rather than just reading some blogs or some other videos about something else. Interactive demos are probably a lot more latched on to help them understand how they can uniquely solve the problem. But let me maybe take 1 or 2 steps back. As you were building this particular product, you've been at this for the last maybe 1.5, maybe 2+ years or so.
2 years.
Interactive demos was just beginning to knock on the door. Very recently, I see that Gartner has started to rave about interactive demos as a way to go PLG first or SLG first. In both the cases, you need about it. What made you choose to build Storylane with the PLG first approach? You could have gone the SLG first approach, just like most of your competitors were. Most of your competitors, not to name them on this call, but some of them were much larger than you as you were starting to build. They didn't have PLG, they didn't have self-service, but yet you went ahead and started making your product much more self-service aware from day one. What made you and Akash to think about PLG first approach and have that part and parcel of your first value proposition to the product itself?
So there are a few reasons why, right? So I'll tell you, like, firstly, I mean, for PLG, we were very clear from day one when we started, it will be a PLG. I'll tell you why we started with the mindset, always PLG. It starts with a few things, right? One is like how you think about product. I'm a very product person myself, an engineer. So we always know PLG is what will take over in terms of every product. Like if you look back into vision of what we want to make buying and selling easy and painless. And for us, it's to go against and say non-PLG and sales-led. So our goal is to make this faster and easier. To make this easier and faster is your product being PLG, to be leading that way compared to anybody else in this market who is not doing that. So we like to lead that way, clearly being a PLG. And also it comes with like being the founder mindset, right? We are always thinking PLG. We are always being like product driven that way. So it was very clear for us from day one. What we are solving was very clear in terms of shrinking the buying, selling, like making it easy. So it has to be PLG. And our mindset is also about best ways to showcase the product. And we are coming from a product background. The third also is when you start looking at it in the next 10 years, right? and how is this going to evolve? And we want to start thinking in that direction from day one, right? Once you become very sales oriented and sales, it's very hard your mindset to shift into product. When you start ingraining in your company, with the employees, with the customers, hey, this is how you're going to build from day one. It helps for you to succeed correctly in step-by-step direction. So we're very clear on that when we started itself. But again, once we started, it's not like we went PLG from day one. So we know we want to be PLG, but there are steps to be better PLG. So we started PLG mindset and designs and how we built the product itself, but still gated it to get the feedback, the validation. Any founder will have to go through the first 9 months or 6 months, depending on when right? After you've got enough data sets and validations from your customers, it's time to open it up. So we took time in I would say the first year, we were very careful before opening it up because we wanted to be sure we're doing it right. So that 1 year we kept it gated, but again, we built the product thinking always PLG.
Got it. I think that probably helps. It's usually products reflect the DNA of the founder. So you probably had the DNA with your previous company to start building towards it. So let me ask, we'll fast forward from the decision that you have made a decision now that to go the PLG route and started building basic things, and you probably did some waitlist or some kind of gate check to not allow the entire world to start signing up. How did you go about doing it? What were your experiences implementing PLG? What's the order in which you build your product? You said that you had a gate, and it's probably a gate that you will talk to some of the customers and let them in through the gate. Was it a waitlist that you built first? How did you go about doing it?
Yeah, so initially when we launched, we went through YC. So when we launched, of course, we got a lot of feedback from YC batchmates and everybody, right? Again, that is one set of, with YC, we understood that there's a lot of startups. We get feedback from startups, right? Correct. That's one set of feedback. You have to start putting them in buckets. Who are you getting the feedback? So for us, it was all about, when I say gating also, it was like gating it from not signing up. They have to talk to us initially. So we get that feedback and we let them try the product and watch what they're doing, recording it and understanding, getting that feedback. Those little insights are important. We use some analytics to collect some data as well around that. I'll talk more about it. So also when we start talking to customers, in the full 9 months, we spoke to large number of sets, like thousands of people at least we have spoken to make sure like you're pattern matching, right? It's very important in your head, you start pattern matching. And it comes a little bit from like the DNA also, right? You start pattern matching in your head when you hear a call itself. So we started putting them into what we hear from startups, what we hear from mid-stage companies, what we hear from some enterprise customers. We also knew what we are offering. If it's PLG, how do we go from a startup offering that they can succeed with this? At the same time, how do we go into a mid-stage or even enterprises, right? So it's not like you build PLG, we're building PLG across. So we wanted to get that kind of feedback from different segments as well. So we start pattern matching, gating it. We didn't really have a waitlist since we didn't do the waitlist because we got that kind of waitlist feedback from a YC batch in some ways. Correct. So we felt like we could peel that off and go straight into gated, sign up, book a demo, right? Traditional way of doing it. And we had to bite it because we hated it. But to be PLG, we need the data and to do it right. So we had to put a book a demo, talk to us. And that's how people came, talk to us. And during the process, again, pattern matching is important, understanding like what's making sense in the product when they sign up. We give them, like initially we onboarded them, then you reduce your onboarding, understand whether they're self-onboarding, where they're getting stuck at. And those are the details you start identifying and then continue to iterate on the product. One of the things what we did was like when we started, the first person we hired was a designer, right? Not an engineer, nobody, right? Because in PLG, the most important is like people have to understand what the product is offering in the 5 minutes. Otherwise, they're not going to come back to you. So the value prop comes in the first 5 minutes to see, am I able to get something out of it, right? People's attention are less. So that's why our thinking was like that, right? When we started building the company, we first hired the designer because we know it needs to be right and it takes its time and iterations. So that's the kind of mindset comes in. That's how you iterate through it as well. So yeah, to answer your question, we did in batches with startups, mid-stage and enterprises and started getting them on calls. Me and Akash both did the calls, start understanding the call, recording, pattern matching, understanding, and then went through the process.
Got it. So as you went through this particular process and you opened up the gates, like let's say you went beyond the book or demo and started making it, hey, sign up to the product, pretty much ungate. At that time, did you implement know your customers? How did you know who are the people who are signing up? Initially, when you have a book or demo, you would probably qualify them. You'll understand their background. You know about the company that they're working for. You understand the needs. But when you open it up, How did you get to know about who are these customers? Who are these users? Do they have a need, or are they just wasting your compute resources to get? How did you start qualifying whether these are the right people to use your product or not?
Yeah. One thing is like you have those, when you open it up, you have some qualifying questions a little bit, right? So in terms of when you sign up, you want to make it frictionless to sign up, but at the same time, you can't like completely ignore the fact that you're not asking anything because you want to qualify them. So we made frictionless to sign up through Google, sign up with very easy ways to get in. But we ask the questions, what are you here for in terms of what do you want to accomplish through Storylane? What use case you're thinking? So that kind of makes them think, am I the wrong person here? It's like a first set of filtering. What do we solve? What are you looking to, right? It's a very simple question. So that gives us a mindset thinking like, okay, I'm here to build a product for my marketing or for my sales use case. Ask those basic questions about it. And we try to understand like how many people sign up, finish those questions. And then after that, our product works because you build demos through Chrome extension. And we know from there, like how many people are serious about installing a Chrome extension. So 100% of people coming in, how many people fill the questionnaire, from there, how the cohort comes down, right? How many are installing an extension? Now, once they install extension, what do? We try to find out, do they record a demo? That's the next cohort comes in. How many of them are recording a demo, previewing what they're doing, editing it? And then comes in how many are publishing your demo. So that's the way it is. And after publishing the demo, how many of them are clicking on upgrade option or talk to us option, right? That's another set of things. So we start breaking it down, understanding where they are. And for us, what matters is people who have installed the extension. After that, we know we need to start looking at that segment of customers. And again, we use like other enrichments to understand the company size, where they're coming from, to add on to what they have signed up. The user signed up with his email. We know if they're a big company, small company, and like lead score them to reach out to them. So if somebody doesn't install an extension, then it's a product problem. Go improve our PLG part, the onboarding. So we start segmenting that.
Okay. So I'm trying to summarize it in my head. You allowed ungated signups. You did some kind of enrichment to know who the users are, who the potential companies they work for. You charted a course for the customer journey. Maybe a hypothesis in the beginning that, hey, they sign up, they do step 1, they do step 2, they might install a Chrome extension and various other things. So essentially a customer journey that you crafted. You started measuring and tracking usage associated with that journey. Is that right to say?
That is correct. Okay. We tried to build that cohort.
And did you use any tools for any of these, or did you build it yourself?
For analytics to build that cohort, we use Heap for analytics to understand how many are doing this. And again, it helped us because we wanted less engineering and we wanted to be wise about it. So that helped us get the cohort.
What about the customer journey? Did you implement that customer journey, or was it more of your own whiteboarding and then your own designers? And so did you use a third-party tool, or was it in-house?
It is in-house. It's more, it comes from your own thinking of what the ideal flow should look like. First, you start with your intuition, then get the feedback from your customers. What's working, what's not working, 2 steps, 3. We have gone through many iterations on this. We felt like this is what we land on. And then that's how we came through it. Yeah.
I'm sure there'll be many iterations because the customer journeys are pretty complex. What about the enrichment? Did you use a third-party provider automatically do the enrichment as they sign up? Or did you have a manual, somebody is actually looking up all the signups and click and reach each of them? How did you go about doing it?
Yeah, so we didn't, it's semi-automated today. We hope to get it all fully automated. We're semi-automated. The way I would say it is we get the data, we get into a HubSpot as our CRM. Somebody comes in, the data goes into our intercom. We get the data intercom because we immediately have all the data in intercom. So support and anybody who's talking to them get to know where the status is right away, right? Within the next couple of minutes after they signed up. And now we also send to HubSpot with all the information that we need. HubSpot sends it to Apollo, and Apollo gives the enrichment. So we have all these tie-ins. So now somebody can go to Apollo, get to know who it is, sort them through the enrichment list as well. So that's basically how our stack is today. Intercom gets this information. And from a sales perspective, somebody needs to follow up on the account management. So we get through the Apollo and HubSpot there. So we split that into, once somebody signs up, think of 2-way paths it goes. Once sales comes in, support also has the data.
That's pretty advanced. You probably started on the very advanced route around knowing your customers, enrichment, using automation with HubSpot and Apollo, or probably even Clearbit if you have to. That's great. So at what point in time did you say that, hey, now is a good time for Storylane to now have free plans or some kind of a pricing plans? What was your pricing plan strategy as you build the self-serve motions? And I see on your website you have quite a bit of transparent pricing as well. So how did you get there?
Yeah. point. So I think we have even a free version, right? Free version to build a demo. The reason we started seeing like a lot of startups and early stage companies also wanted to show, I think earlier you asked me. And for us, the very nature of interactive demos and product demos has a virality network effect to it. People share it. So for us, it was very clear if you're looking in the long-term picture, we want to empower as many companies as possible in the early stage to build this and see value through it. And that's the reason why we went free version. They're able to get a sneak peek, build this in a PLG model, so they're able to do it. The moment they start talking about integration, I need these leads coming in, I need analytics coming in, I need more interactivity. That's where we split the pricing into. You can start with something and then you have to go into the next stage of the pricing plan so that they can go into the growth tier and where they can self-serve themselves or they talk to us into the growth tier. We look at the free version as a PLG, a starter version for startup plans to come in, build as many of this using campaigns and everything, more like a completely self-serve. And the pricing was dictated primarily through features and users, right? If they start collaborating, having multiple teams use it, then we dictated our pricing based on those two criteria itself. And again, free is something that we debated a lot, whether we give it free or not. Every PLG company will go through that. And I think for us, it was simple. The North Star for us was we want to make as many companies as possible to use interactive demos to reduce this friction. Then we don't want to create like early stage companies to be barrier to it or for people to try it without having a free. For us, given what we want to achieve out of it, we felt like giving a demo free will be the right way.
Got it. So could you share your thoughts on how did you experiment with pricing? Many of your competitors do not have transparent pricing. And yours was a very different business than theirs. Theirs was more of a SLG business and yours is more of a PLG business. So how did you go about figuring out what's the right usage model? And did you do any experiments with your plans? Did you do any kind of conversion analysis on this is working well, that's not working well? How did you go about locking down to some kind of a good enough pricing plans to begin with?
Yeah, so I think we did experiment, and then I would say not as much as we did in the PLG part, and some part actually saw as like when you start thinking about pricing, it's driven through competition, driven through what the usage looks like and everything. We came up with the model of we have 4 different plans, and free I mentioned like we want to empower as many. Then the starter one, what we realized is we still want them to pay and commit to it. It's a self-serve, and we want to focus a lot on small segment of the customers, startups, and anybody who's self-serve and want to put a demo on the websites. For them, we wanted to start with the lower end version. So that's where our starter plan is the lower end of the price point. And we didn't experiment much on the starter plan. So we felt the pricing we took out is after talking to a few customers and experimenting what they're willing to pay for, testing it out, right? That's a classic way of doing it. Basically, like you like a customer, but at the end of the day, unless they don't swipe a credit card and pay for it, it's not really, right? They're enjoying it. So we experimented a few pricing options there, and we felt like we landed on something where we are able to get conversions, and we went through that. Now, the growth is where we spent more time on, and growth comes with at a higher price tier for us. And we also wanted to know what level of customers we get there, right? The quality. We also didn't want to get the lower end of the customers who may not see a value at that stage. So that's where our pricing tier is slightly higher from a starter to a growth tier. And it comes with more deeper integrations with the marketing stack. Companies that have like a marketers, paradox, and a good marketing stack, like full-fledged sales teams and everything. And we experimented with the lower pricing, and we felt like companies will need to have a minimum set of seats. We also went through that process. So we give minimum 5 seats to collaborate because that's when we saw a good value through it. Again, in terms of how we identified, it's like the first year when we spoke to thousands of customers, when we start pattern matching, we start startups, mid-stage and enterprises, we start grouping them. We asked this question about pricing. That led us to feel like when we launched PLG, we could put the pricing on tag there. So it all comes from talking to customers and spending a good amount of time the first year helped us identify those. But definitely we spent a lot of time on growth tier. We experimented with seats, we experimented with features, but we were clear that people were willing to spend that money. Like our growth is 500. So very clear that people were willing to spend for these are the type of features they wanted to go with. So we kept the pricing there and we wanted to move few needles like user seats and features around.
Got it. I know we are running out of time, but could you maybe share any failed experiments that you've had during your journey till date? I know you experimented with pricing plans, at least at the growth levels. You didn't sub experiments at the self-serve levels. Could you share maybe 1 or 2, maybe very quickly if you can, about any failures or any learnings, any big learnings that you have from this journey till now?
I'll tell you some success like big learnings because we also target enterprise customers. And as you mentioned, some of the competitors taking sales lead, we had this question, right? Everybody, as you go through the motion, you'll have this question. We really got the confidence and success when we got like largest enterprise through PLG. They tried different competitors to try them. They came self-serve, signed up. They were excited and they got on a talk to our support and just moved forward into an enterprise. The conversation was so faster and easier with us. So a validation success for us was really to understand and we can get a big enterprise, a 40, 50-year-old company in this market and B2B space, come PLG after talking to all the competitors and still come and choose us. It was a great success validation saying that PLG is here and what we're building is right. Thinking long term, we know we're in the right direction. And I would call out that as a big success. That's a validation that you would see. In terms of failures, the failures basically for us is like in your whole model of going to PLG itself, we made a lot of mistakes in the onboarding. You have to, if you say you don't make a mistake in your onboarding journey and you lose conversions, you're not doing it right. You have to make mistakes and learn. And what we made a mistake was we didn't have a tool like Heap initially. We took a long time to bring in a tool like Heap or analytics to measure it. We were going a lot with intuition and thinking, hey, we've done PLG before. I think we know it. But every industry, every market, when you start thinking PLG, it's a little bit different. So we made a mistake in the initial few months, 6 months, and then we cross-corrected it. That's something we probably could have fixed it earlier, but that's what I would say, one of the things that we didn't do right initially.
Got it. Compliments to you and your founding team to be able to go experiment with so many iterations as you go forward. And to the listeners, Storylane has deals for you. So there's a 20% off for the first year for Storylane with the promo code, which you'll have as per the show notes. Again, thank you, Nalin, for joining us for this particular podcast. Wish you all the success.
Thank you. Thanks so much, Raj, for having me.
And to listeners, look forward for more conversations. If you have any guests or any other topics that you'd like to suggest, please reach out to us.